Hey, just want to say, I'm not dead. Vehicle commanders. No, not the archetype. Vehicle commander, a term to describe a specific type of commander in EDH. That being, commanders who are used as a medium to transport the deck from A to B. Normally, these commanders are like Morophon, Kenrith, Joda, and most partner commanders. However, these commanders aren't just 5-colored good stuff. They are also found in every other color combination, usually near the top of their respective pages on EDH Rec. In a sense, most vehicle commanders are strong and powerful since they're able to carry gimmicky archetypes and deck ideas. Essentially, when you see these commanders being pulled out at your local FNM, you can guarantee that those players will say something along the lines of, "This isn't that kind of deck you're expecting. I didn't build it to be too strong." And let me be clear, these players aren't problem players. I would know, I'm one of them. Usually, the notoriety of these commanders often attract players to try and build underpowered and niche versions of them, since they want to show it off. I think I should elaborate a bit more. A recent deck I made used a vehicle commander. It was a play on the 20 ways to win Secret Lair commander deck that Wizards recently sold. In short, the deck they made was terrible, and I'm sorry if you bought into the FOMO and got the deck. So, for about the same price of the deck, I made a better version with the same premise. For the commander, I chose Valkospara, since he could be a great vehicle for many of the win conditions I chose for the deck, because his ability allows me to use counters on the win conditions to cast cards off the top. And this leads to the second type of vehicle commander, niche cases. Much like how many people would prefer specific models of cars and forms of transportation, regardless of what would be considered the most optimal, people in Magic are the same. I, like many other players, have a scratch on the back of my mind when it comes to deck making. It's the kind of scratch that pushes me to make decks that fulfill certain criteria and modes of winning, regardless of what would be considered easier. A good example of this is a deck I had made a while ago, which I am not proud of. The deck used Inala as the commander, with the entire creature base being legendary wizards that did their own thing with a spellslinger sub-archetype. As you can infer, the deck is pretty bad, but it did fulfill an itch in my brain. Instead of making a deck that worked, I had used Inala to make a niche use of her ability to make legendary copies of creatures in the deck. Now, you may be asking, why would I specify earlier that a vehicle commander is something generic, then use an example of something very specific like legendary wizards? Well, to put it simply, most commanders can be used as a vehicle, because, in a sense, a large majority of commanders can take a deck from point A to point B. Sometimes there may be glamour or flourish, but the deck still has that basic principle. However, not every commander is capable of doing that. As you can see, there is a range in which a commander can be a vehicle. The less reliant the strategy is on the commander, and the more it plays towards furthering the actual plan of the deck, the more vehicle the commander becomes. And on the other side of the spectrum, the more gimmicky the strategy is, the more the deck needs a vehicle to drive it from beginning to end. This essentially leaves a valley of commanders that aren't capable of being vehicles, since they are either unreliable or too centric towards the strategy. And, as you can see, some notable commanders fall within this valley. Hey, I just want to say thank you for making it to this part of the video. It did take a long time to make because I had remade it multiple times and even switched to using Davinci Resolve, which wasn't easy. If you don't mind subscribing and liking, I would greatly appreciate it because I do want to do this full time and in the future even bring you more entertainment as quickly as possible. Also, be on the lookout because I plan to start live streaming on this channel where I'm going to be deck making, playing video games, and maybe even just to hang out with you guys and talk about Magic. So, if you want to get to know me better and join the community, it will start on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time next week. Thanks again. I'll see you next time.